At this time, I'll call the May 12th, 2022 meeting to order for the Dixon County Commission. Would you please stand and join in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We do have one item to add to today's agenda, and that is to make an application for a food chipper grant. And with that, I would move that we approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second that.
We have the motion and the second. Any discussion or question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. At this time, the next thing we have is the consent agenda. That's the minutes of the May 5th meeting, also the public board commissions meeting, payroll of $339,354.96, abatements of $970.12.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
We have the motion and second for approval of the consent agenda. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Commissioner comments, Ron?
No comments today.
Okay, Craig?
Nothing.
Okay. Earlier this morning, we began the process of some of our budget hearings. We have had information gathered, and Nell Dockendorf has been working on that and also reached out to all of the groups. And so we have that scheduled. We did that this morning for a couple of groups, and then we'll go ahead and continue with that for the weeks that follow. We'd heard also, I've got here, I happened to run into Eddie Avinger, and he's with the American Legion, VFW, very active in both groups and a veteran. I mean, he was just on cloud nine, and I thought, well, he must be impressed with our courthouse, but it went above that. He just returned from an honors flight. And, you know, that's one of the best things that has happened for so many veterans, one of the best programs. But he had mentioned there were some World War II people there, Korean, and of course he is from the Vietnam era. And he was there and just said that the way they were treated, and he just felt so honored. And he's one of the most patriotic people I know anyway. But anyway, it was just good to hear that information from him and the way that the respect that was given him. Also earlier today, we had Trevor Witt was in and was asking us to give some consideration and review. Every county in Kansas has different laws as far as the liquor sales and the amount of food that has to be with liquor and so on. He was wanting to know if we would give some consideration to having that put to a vote for the county, and for in his particular instance, it'd be a tap house type establishment, but not serve food, or wouldn't have to rely on the 30% food. So there would be opportunity for others, not just in Abilene, but in the county, if they wanted to invest in that kind of business or provide that type of business venue. I think from the discussion, the way we had left it, are we going to need that for a formal motion later, or can we just, actually, I think what we wanted to do, Doug, is have you look into that from the attorney's perspective to see if what we'd have to do, the steps to allow that to come to a vote, okay, and by the general public.
Right.
And then once that's done, we can do that consideration at a future meeting, but also give opportunity to have public input on anything relating to that matter. That's all I had for commission comments or reports. We did not have any petitions or proclamations. This would be opportunity if there's anyone that would want to comment on anything that is not on the agenda. You could do so now. I don't believe we have any public comments. And so we'll go ahead and move on to our report of county officers. Brad?
Okay, we have scheduled the open house for the courthouse. It will be June 11th from 10 to 3, which is a Saturday. And we'll be working with the department heads and select staff to help man that, woman that, I guess, whatever, that day. And so we will have kind of self-guided tours through the building and let people look at what they want to look at. And we'll have some giveaways and hopefully we can get the public in and give them an opportunity to see their courthouse. So I mentioned to you earlier that we did send letters to the township boards this week about the spraying services and that we're going to be limited on what we can provide this year. And so we're going to leave it up to them to contract or do their own spraying on township roads. We have some of them that don't take advantage of that anyhow, and some that do, some to greater extent than others. So we're hoping it doesn't impact them too much, but they do have the ability to get going into budgets to levy their own fees for that. So it shouldn't hurt them too bad. And hopefully they understand it because of shortage of staffing and everything else. It's become very difficult for us. And we have to prioritize our county roads at this point. So we talked about the elevator and the time frame on that. We did get good news this week from U.S. Fish and Wildlife. We had applied for a $48,000 grant from them to conduct or to do the research, engineering, and design of the low water crossing down on Yard Road by Rock Springs Ranch. And we were approved for that, full funding. So they will pay to have that design and engineering done. And then we'll determine what needs to be, that'll determine what needs to be done on that project. That's probably the largest low water crossing we have in our county. And we looked at it when we were down there last time on the drive around. So, but they're going to fund it fully, and that is based on the Topeka Shiner population and some of that high risk fish population, I guess.
Question for you. The construction of it or the tearing out, is that going to be on us? And
We don't know yet. Once we get the design done, then we'll apply for another grant for that. And I'm hoping that, given the fact that they've supported this so well, I would anticipate it'll probably be similar to what they've done on the bridges. They'll pay for materials, or will be labor, depending on what needs to be done,
it's a little different when you're, it's a concrete structure.
That's going to be different than so it may very well that they'll provide more. I don't know. So.
Well, like I said, when we were down there, it needs to be something done. I mean,
Something needs to be done, and it's got to be done underwater, so, with the water flowing. So yeah, we'll get the design and then we'll step into that, see what we can get out of them. So I mentioned earlier too that the parking lots, the added stalls have been done outside here with the removal of the county attorney's building, and so that's concrete has been put down, the sidewalk's been added back in going over to First Street. That all looks very nice. They did put the stripes down yesterday. They tested it and it breaks at a point where we can park on it now. That's all good news. We did discover on the bad news side that we have some hail damage to the roof down at the highway shop, which is not surprising. I think I told you we had a number of vehicles down there from that storm that were damaged, including the 2 we had ready for auction on Purple Wave. K-Camp was in earlier this week, their adjuster, and looked at those. And so we have reached out to the roofing company that does that and see about getting that repaired. So
all the roofs are just the.
Right now, it looks like the damage is on the shop or on the office storage side.
Original building.
Yeah, not the high side. So
not down to the PPE building or anything.
No. Now I would be surprised if there's not some dings or dents in that building, but it's nothing. It's going to
Well, steel's not as
impede the integrity of it. So.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I had was Jeannie had asked a question of me on township treasurer's bond that I couldn't answer, so I was going to pass that on to Doug. But according to KSA 80-203, I put a copy of that on your note sheet that the township treasurers are required to post a bond that's set by you. And so as I read it, it's something that probably we need. I don't know that we've ever addressed. And I don't know how it came up, but
Well, it came up because Doug Smart called and wanted to know. He said he has, he wanted to know if there was a set amount because he has several policies and one of them is 40,000 and one's 100,000. And he just wanted to know if there was a set policy on. And so then I looked into seeing what, and this is the only thing I could find on it.
I would assume that, and you know, we all know what that gets me, but that probably the bond amount should be at least reflective on the budget, but as a general figure, at least the amount of what the highest township budget is.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense or not, but you know, you want it to cover the budget, but we can't set 24 different policies. And certainly Doug Smart doesn't want to change it every year when their budget changes, so.
Well, you could set a percentage of their budget, you know, for every, so I mean, it'd be, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, 10% of your budget, you know, need to have at least that much for your bond. So that would cover all the townships rather than setting a, you know, $300 bond. Does that make
A
sense?
percentage of,
Their total budget,
right, but then their budget's gonna change every year, and that's.
Right.
And that percentage would.
I know, but I mean, there might be a minimum that Doug has to do for a bonding, might be a minimum.
And I would assume there would be. If their budget's $50,000, theoretically, that means that there's $50,000 that to a rogue treasurer could get away with. So I would assume you'd want to insure bond for $50,000.
Right. What would the bond cost you?
Well, that's
That's
would be
what-
at the insurance.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not, I've been on extension board and I had treasurer had to be bonded down there. And I don't remember what it was, but it was like $50.
Yeah, it's not very much. It's like our notary bonds, and I don't know what the amounts are on a notary bond, but the notary bond insurance for
A minimum would
4 years is $50, so.
well, somewhere up for the search, I guess.
Probably should be some uniformity though, and it could be that there could be one tier or two tiers, you know, depending on the size, and we can kind of round up. I mean, ultimately, if something did happen, would the county still bear some responsibility, or would it all be on the township?
It'd all be on the township, I'm sure, wouldn't it, Doug?
Yes.
It's their bond and their budget, so.
Jeannie, what's the largest budget? Grant Township probably has the largest one.
I don't know.
Oh,
I know Fred Willowdale had years ago had $112,000 budget.
I mean, Grant is one of the higher ones, maybe Noble and Lincoln because of some of the roads that they've got in there. So, and some of them are pretty healthy.
Well, just because your roads doesn't mean you necessarily have a high budget, because Noble doesn't have that many mile road.
Right.
Well, I think what you mentioned before, just gather some information and maybe Doug Smart can kind of give us some guidance on it, suggestion, and we can weigh that with, we don't have to just go with whatever he says, but you know, like you say, we haven't really looked at it too closely.
We can check and see what other counties have done on that too.
And I guess we want to make sure that no township is just not doing it at all. I mean, I assume all of them are on board, but let's find out.
I was township treasurer for Noble 20 years ago, and we never had a bond for me.
Oh, a lot of them do now, though. Yeah, they really do.
Of course, we had.
They knew you, Craig. so-
Well, no, yeah, I don't, we had a local agency that, wasn't Doug.
Well, give us a week or two for Doug to research it, and I'll check and see what the other counties that have administrators, I'll see what they've done, if they've done anything, and we'll come back to you with something, so.
Well, and it's good that we have this discovery before there's a problem. So, I mean, that's the thing is, you know, we don't, on a bond or insurance, it's preparation for if something goes wrong in the future, and you want to just make sure you've got everything covered.
That's all I've got.
Okay, Doug.
Well, just a couple of things. I've had some really good comments from people who have been interacting with the courthouse, who have been in. And I've got really good feedback, people saying what a good job you folks have done and how nice the place looks. And I assure them there was a lot of work put into it. And thank you guys for all of that. And Brad, thank you for the grants, because almost every time there's a grant application, you don't always win them, but you're certainly trying to, and that's awesome. Last week when I was up here, we were talking about the National Day of Prayer. And I was able to make that over to Emmanuel Church, our church at Emmanuel, and it was absolutely fantastic. We had Ron Bold was the keynote speaker for it, but we had Kyle McCook from Enterprise got up and gave, or Solomon, I should say, got up and gave the message of a prayer about the businesses. Mark Hinka from KJIL did an awesome job with it. Pastor Chris from Lifehouse, and our Pastor Gordon and his wife did the music, and it was just fantastic. And so that's what we did on last Thursday night. And other than that, I can tell you the county's extremely busy because coming over, there was a lot of trucks on the doing some work on power lines, and the railroad's working on some project that they're putting in some whatever they're doing, whether it's culverts or
Couple tubes under the railroad. over
yeah,
there.
yeah, doing a good job. That's all I have, and I'll get you the information concerning the KSA 80-203, and we'll figure out what we need to do for that next week. Thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah, thank you. Notices and communications, we did have something where a company offers a service for culvert cleaners. And then also we had our county news newspaper that we had. That's all I had on notices and communications. I will mention Leah Hearn in our work study session did mention that she would encourage us and also her association, the Kansas County of Treasurers. They're trying to have a passage of a motor vehicle fee bill HB 2380, and would like us to contact the senator leadership and senators for the state of Kansas on that. And basically, they're doing the work here at the county, and then you also have a billing that has several associated fees and so on. And so, basically they're just trying to have a nice clean bill, but also gives a little bit back to the county to cover all the work the county's doing. We'll go ahead and move on. We do not have any resolutions that we've added or unfinished business. The two items left are one we added to the agenda, but also we have the one to have the appointment of Cassie Wilson to the County Planning and Zoning Board, and that is by resolution 051222. Is there a motion to have her appointed to that board?
So moved. I'll second that
We have the
motion.
motion and the second. Any discussion? And you might mention briefly just on the opening on that, and we have a full board now with her on there, or?
Actually, I think you still have one vacancy, but you're much closer than you would have been. And it's my understanding Claire Anderson has indicated her a desire to step down this summer. So she'd kind of given Tim a heads up that they were going to be doing something different. Her life, something in life was changing, but so this would help fill the void that Claire will create. We'll still have, I think, one vacancy after that, but this gives us a very good candidate from the rural area on the east side. And as you guys know, Cassie, I think she takes no prisoners, and she'll do an excellent job in the meeting. And she's been a very productive part of the EDC. And I'm really excited that he gets to have somebody that quality to work with the group we already have. So.
Okay, she does. She brings good qualifications and good experience on that. So we had the motion. We did have the second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let's see, Ron, I'll need to have you sign that. The next item we added to the agenda, and it's to give an approval of support document to the city of Abilene. This is for a wood chipper grant application, Brad.
The city of Abilene is applying for a grant to obtain a new wood chipper out at their recycle center. And this is just a support document that says that we would support that grant. for the community and the betterment of the area. So
Okay. I'd move that we go ahead and support the city of Abilene on that.
I'll second it. I'll second that.
Okay, got the motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Don't believe we have anything else to bring before the commission.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second that.
We have the motion and the second to adjourn. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.